Joining me now, Trump transition spokesman, incoming White House press secretary, Sean Spicer. Sean, good to have you with us.
Good evening, Lou. Thank you.
That press conference, let me say, I felt was one of the fastest moving, best organized, and wide-ranging I'd seen in a while, and replete with drama. I'd like to share with you, I know you lived it, but the audience again, the exchange between Donald Trump, obviously very annoyed with CNN and its editorial choices about salacious fake news. Here we go.
Go ahead. Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization.
Your organization.
Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir,
quiet.
Can you state,
quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
go ahead.
Can you state
she's asking a question. Don't be rude.
Mr. President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
You're attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you give us a question?
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sean, you were obviously a bit exercised yourself as you began the press conference, getting ready to introduce the vice president and then subsequently the president-elect. Now that that's occurred, Jim Acosta is claiming that you threatened to toss him from the press conference if he interrupted again. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, no, not entirely. So here's what happened. I think the clip that you just played, Jim Acosta, was inappropriate, rude, and disrespectful. And he did it twice. He did it then, the clip that you showed, and he did it again later. After the press conference was over, when the president-elect had left the area, had gone up in the elevator, I went over to him. I informed him that I thought his behavior, as I said, rude, disrespectful, and inappropriate. And that if it happened again, I would have him removed. Now, look, Lou, I've been doing Republican Party politics for 30 years. But I'll tell you this. If I watched President Obama treated like that, if I watched President Clinton treated like that, I would react the same. The office of President-elect of President of the United States deserves a level of respect. And having a reporter stand up and basically yell and scream and act as inappropriately and rude as he did is a disgrace. We're better than that. And he was an embarrassment to the press corps. Frankly, beyond the embarrassment that he caused to the President-elect, I think he's an embarrassment to the press corps. Because the rest of the press was behaving appropriately, raising their hand, asked to have questions asked. His network had already had a question answered. And I think he owes an apology not just to the president-elect, but to the entire press corps for his inappropriate behavior.
You know, casting back, when Ronald Reagan entered the White House, it was made very clear to the White House press corps that what had become really an outrageous scene amongst the White House press corps would end. That the President Reagan would be treated with respect. There would be absolute decorum. And that was it. I mean, to watch Acosta do that is stunning stuff. I can't imagine it happening in the White House, but then again, I couldn't have imagined it happening there in the President-elect's first news conference.
Well, and back in Reagan's days, you had aggressive reporters. They were tough. Sam Donaldson comes to mind. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, they knew the line, and they knew how to be respectful and respectful of the office. And I think what he did today just really, I think, again, as I noted earlier, I think is an embarrassment to the entire press corps that came there and wanted their questions answered. And the idea that he tried to monopolize the time and make it about him was rude to the press corps, was disrespectful to the president-elect, and frankly doesn't reflect well as who we are as Americans.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, by the way. I'm going to get into a lot of controversy, I'm sure, with my friends in the left-wing national media, but so be it. It wouldn't be the first time. Rex Tillerson today, I thought handled himself extraordinarily well. And I was surprised at some of the animosity, the seeming hostility, for example, from Marco Rubio. The left wing, I get, the Democrats who are just playing partisan, carrying out partisan tactics. But for Marco Rubio to be quite that hostile, I was surprised.
Well, look, I think that one of the things that people who have gotten to know Rex Tillerson, you become immediately impressed with both his professional and personal story. He is a man of immense greatness, immense concern for this country. He's been enormously successful as a businessman, and he's given tremendously of himself on a personal level. He and his wife have been champions of helping the poor and disadvantaged. And it's something that I hope that more Americans, and not just the senators there at the committee, get to see, because he will be an amazing Secretary of State. And there's a reason the President-elect chose him. And it's because he knows how to be successful and fight hard, and he's a tough negotiator. And I think our country is going to be blessed because he will be on board leading our foreign policy.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hyperbole to suggest that this cabinet that the President-elect has nominated is going to be amongst the best in history. Extraordinary talent, and as he promised, unexpected quarters that he drew from to assemble the cabinet. Senator Jeff Sessions, speaking of hostility, and Senator Booker going after him after working with Senator Sessions closely on some legislation, including civil rights legislation, politics, if you will, dominating all on the part of the Democratic Party in this process.
Well, that's right. I mean, last February, Senator Booker stood on the Senate floor working with Senator Sessions to support acknowledging the folks who marched, the marchers in 1965 civil rights. And he said on the floor of the Senate how honored he was to stand shoulder to shoulder with this fine man, Senator Jeff Sessions. And yet, here we are today when it becomes a partisan show, and Senator Booker unfortunately reversed course and tried to make it all about politics instead of the fine record that Senator Sessions has had, not just as Attorney General, a U.S. District Attorney, but as a United States Senator fighting for the civil rights of all of us as Americans.
Well, in the New York Times, speaking of pushing aside partisanship and rising above it, the New York Times objectively holding forth that that ethics experts said the only way for Mr. Trump to assure highly ethical conduct and no conflict of interest is to sell everything he's got right now. I think that the plan that he announced today was extraordinarily well thought out. And meets every test that's necessary for a man who, first of all, is not required by either the Constitution or law to have done so.
You couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, the Constitution makes it very clear that the President and the Vice President aren't subject to these conflict of interest rules. And yet his desire to serve this country was forcing him to take this extra step of ensuring that the American people understood that he was going to step down from all interest in the Trump organization, put all of the other assets in a trust, hand it over to his sons. He went through extraordinary steps today to show how focused he is on this country, making it great again, putting our people back to work, creating economic growth. And I think, frankly, he should be applauded for the steps that he went to. And as his lawyer walked through that this morning, one of the things that she noted that was so interesting is that, had he done exactly what the New York Times said, they would have claimed that the people that he sold it to, whether it was at fair market value or not, whether or not that those people were trying to influence him through the purchase of an asset, it's a bit ridiculous. The steps that he'd taken went well far and beyond anything that's ever been required.
Whether it be the nomination process, the handling of the drama at the news conference, whether it be the nomination process, I keep remembering those long ago cries, it seems, from the left. They wanted Donald Trump to act presidential. Well, they've got it now. Sean Spicer, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Lou. Take care.
You too.